So by the time the war was over, the United States was the main creditor of the world. And all this gold was sitting in our coffers, along with pretty much all the factories to build everything and rebuild the world. The United States became extremely wealthy and was the main superpower at that time.
Good day, my name is David Fusco. And in this show, I'm going to talk about business, finance, and how to survive and thrive in this crazy environment that we're living in today. Welcome to my show.
Good day, everyone. My name is David Fusco, and today is April 4th, 2023. And I'm going to make a little video today building off of the last one I did about a week or so ago. And here I want to talk about our current monetary system, how it started originally when the United States was created, and where we are now, and then where we may go in the future. And this will help you think about the processes that we've been in and what you might do to help protect yourself. Originally in the Constitution of the United States, it talked about money, and that money shall be made out of gold or silver, and it identified how much of that gold or silver equaled a dollar. That system stayed in place solidly until around 1878, just after the Civil War, when the United States had gotten into heavy debt. And for some reason or another, in 1878, the Congress decided to remove silver officially from the money system, leaving just gold. Now, silver still stayed actually in the coinage that we created, the dimes, the quarters, the half dollars, and the metal dollars, up until 1964. And if you could find the 1964 or earlier quarter, for example, and you held it in your hand and you held a modern quarter in your hand, you would immediately see and feel and know there's a difference. Right now, based on the current silver price of around $24 an ounce, that 1964 quarters got about a $4 or slightly better in melt value. What's interesting is in 1964, 1965, 25 cents bought a gallon of gas. The 1965 quarter, which is made out of base metals, will buy you maybe one spin on the bubblegum machine, where the 1964 quarter still buys you a gallon of gas, maybe even a little bit better in the silver content, that is. So silver was removed from the monetary system in 1878. We move forward to 1913. 1913, Congress changed the laws and created the first income tax, actually the second income tax. The first one was during the Civil War, and in the Constitution it says that there's no taxation without representation. They said during the Civil War we need an income tax to pay for the war. The war was over. The government wanted to keep that, and that was brought to the Supreme Court, and that was knocked out. And in 1913, they amended the Constitution, creating the first income tax, solidly modifying the Constitution, and at the same time they created the IRS, which is the tax collecting authority. Initially, it only affected very wealthy people. Like they always say, it's only going to affect, and as we can now see, it's permeated throughout the entire system. So now we're in 1913, the Federal Reserve Bank, a private corporation, issues money in the form of debt to the United States, meaning the United States borrows the money from the Federal Reserve and pays it back with interest. And of course, the only place that we can get the interest to pay them back is the Federal Reserve. So it's a system that is like a snowball. You know, like if you take a snowball and you put it on the top of a hill, small snowball, and you let it go, it starts to roll down slowly and it starts to gain momentum. And as it goes down the hill, it's getting larger and larger and bigger and faster until eventually it goes out of control. And that's kind of like how our money system has been going. And you can see it's kind of getting a little bit out of control right now. So now we're at 1913, gold, dollars, like actually it was a $20 gold piece, which was just a little bit under 1 ounce of gold. Today that gold piece is about $2,000. $20 in 1933 actually, up to that point, when they actually removed the physical gold from the monetary system, for the people in the United States, making it illegal to hold gold as a United States citizen with certain exceptions. So in 1933, the United States then, Roosevelt, the president at the time, demanded the citizens return their gold, $20 gold pieces, and they replaced them with paper certificates. At first, it was equal money, $20 gold piece, $20 paper certificate, same value. Shortly thereafter, they changed that system, and they said, oh no, now gold's now $35 to an ounce. So the people that had turned in their gold and got paper $20 bills immediately lost 40% of their money at the click of a button. Well, whether it's a button back then, I don't know. Now it is. So now the United States is on a gold standard from 1933 going forward. We now have the World War II. World War II comes around. Everyone knows about that. The world was pretty much destroyed except for the United States. And as the war was going on, the European and Asian nations were sending their gold to the United States for safekeeping. So by the time the war was over, the United States was the main creditor of the world. And all this gold was sitting in our coffers, along with pretty much all the factories to build everything and rebuild the world. The United States became extremely wealthy and was the main superpower at that time. Nobody could compete with us. So we're going forward in time a little more. And again, this is just a quick history. And we get to the Vietnam War. And during the Vietnam War, massive debt again was created. Now, although U.S. citizens could not officially own gold, gold was still backing the United States dollar and was convertible by foreign countries at a fixed rate of exchange, which they eventually went from $35 an ounce to $42.50 an ounce. President de Gaulle, in and around 1971, or actually a little earlier, was demanding gold back for the paper. So the French and other countries were handing in their paper dollars and getting gold. 1971, President Nixon at the time suspended the convertibility of paper money into gold. And that temporary measure became permanent. For those who were alive during the 70s, will remember the turmoil that happened when this all took place. Inflation got out of control. Interest rates got to over 20% on mortgages even. And the value of money got destroyed. So the United States needed to do something to keep its sole reserve currency around the world. And what they did was they cut a deal with Saudi Arabia and the other OPEC oil producers, and they convinced them that, hey, we'll protect you. You just sell your oil for dollars. So what that did was that immediately made the dollar a necessity to have. And instead of, in a sense, being backed by gold, we're now, in a sense, backed by oil or energy. Oil, obviously, is the main energy that's been used in the world now for quite some time. So these oil-producing countries benefited from the protection of the United States, not needing to really build up their own militaries and whatnot. And the United States benefited by the deal because now our currency became necessary for every country in the world to have in order to purchase energy, oil. Now let's jump forward to the more recent history that many people remember. We got involved in two wars, Afghan and Iraq, and more recently, and as most who've watched the news, about a year or so ago, we left Afghanistan, and we did it in such a poor fashion where we had people clinging to aircraft to escape the quick withdrawal of the United States from the Afghan country. And that scared our allies that had been our allies for quite some time. Maybe about within a week after that abandonment, Saudi Arabia, who had a military pact with the United States, cut a deal with Russia, and now Russia is providing them with military protection. That's a big change, and the United States has now been losing its sole control of the monetary system around the world. More lately, actually it's been going on for about a decade or so, there's been a competing or a building up of a competing world currency, and that's based on the BRICS nation. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. So these nations got together and said, hey, we want to create our own monetary system because the United States is being abusive from their point of view, in that we're weaponizing our dollars by, if somebody gets out of line with the way that our government wants them to act, they're shutting off their ability to transact business. Well, just like you wouldn't prefer that, you would find an alternate means to purchase and sell your goods. So more recently to this, other nations around the world are making application and have made application to join in on this competing new currency that's coming up. Even Mexico has made an attempt to get involved with that BRICS nation. What does that mean? Well, that means that the US dollar may not forever be the sole reserve currency of the world. That gives us, again, like I said, a lot of strength and power. So now if there's a competitor, that's going to create an issue for the US dollar and the value over here. Most dollars that have been created, which are digital, are actually outside of the country. And if these other countries no longer need these dollars for oil, they don't have to maintain them and they don't have to accumulate them. These dollars ultimately have one place that they must be accepted, and that's in the United States. So what happens when all these dollars that are overseas start flooding into the United States? It's going to expand the problems of inflation here. I mean, the other day I got a buttered roll. It was $3.50 from a local deli where it was maybe only a little over $1 a year or so ago. We can all see the effect of inflation pretty much almost on a weekly basis now. So what have the BRICS nations done is, one of the things they've done over the last probably decades, and it's been accelerating, is they've been buying and accumulating real assets to back their currencies, one of which is gold. Gold has been money in the world, and along with silver, for thousands of years. If I were to give you an American silver quarter from 1964 and send you back thousands of years into history, you'll be able to get something for it. It's money. It's always been money, and it has a value. Will it always be looked at as money in the future? I don't know, but it has a value, and it always will have a value. It's necessary in many of today's electronics. Now, here's the interesting thing about the BRICS nations, which are oil-producing countries and countries that want to deal in oil. What's happening now is the Western world and the United States, if you noticed over the last few years, there's a very big push to get rid of fossil fuel energy, that's coal and oil. And they want to bring in only electric energy. They want to have us electric cars, no more gas stoves. They want everything to be electrical based. Well, if you're an oil producer like Saudi Arabia and you pretty much have nothing else to sell, is that going to make you happy if everything goes electric and they eliminate or limit the value of the oil resources? Of course it's not going to. So they're going to do everything they can, along with every oil producing country is going to do everything they can to protect one of their main resources that they can derive value from and trade internationally and even locally. So there's definitely a big fight coming on the front. How close are we to that edge? I don't know. So what's going to happen to the dollar? Well, we could also look at what's been going on with China a little bit, and they created what's called a central bank digital currency, which is not a cryptocurrency, but it's a programmable currency or money, if you want to use that word, that the Central Bank of China can control the use of and how you'll use it. They could turn it off at will. By now, many of you have heard, if not, you're hearing it now, that the United States, along with other Western powers, are pushing towards a programmable central bank digital currency. What will that work? I don't know. What will happen to the paper dollars we have? Who knows? Chances are it'll run simultaneously for some time, but ultimately I believe they want to remove the paper money from the system, and they want everything to go through the digital world, which is trackable, programmable money. And if that happens, that's really kind of like an end of freedom. I mean, what's really sad about it is like, you leave a $5 tip for the waitress. It's like the government wants to get a piece of that action. You give $10 to the delivery guy. They want a piece of that. Right now, you hand a $5 or $10 bill. It's private and it's done. If it's all programmable and trackable, well, it's not done. The tax man's going to get a piece of that. So this is just something to get you thinking. I'm going to put together more podcasts about the different events going forward and some of the actions that you can take for yourself, your friends, and your family. So don't worry. Don't be afraid of what's happening. And don't let the system put the propaganda in your head and the fear. So seize this day and make it the best one you can. Thank you.